Carpentry by NJT is based in the western suburbs and has many years of experience to assist you in sourcing any and all of your carpentry needs. Carpentry by NJT are great supporters of local soccer clubs in Melbourne's western suburbs, including ambitious State League One outfit Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Home Builders Corp, meanwhile, is a Melbourne-based construction company by the same owners with more than 15 years' experience. Home Builders Corp specialises in new homes and unit developments. With attention to detail, they work to the highest standard to satisfy their customers with a very quick turnaround. For further details about how either Carpentry by NJT or Home Builders Corp can help you, contact owner-manager Nick on 0410 576 018 or via email at nick@homebuilderscorp.com.au. Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp are the proud major sponsors of the Football Out West show. Good evening and a very, very warm welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us here on the Football Out West show. It's episode 120, and boy, are we now really getting to the nitty-gritty, the business end of the season where it's down to business. My name is Tonchi Prusak. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you tonight. We keep saying it every week. It's a huge show. It's a big show. It just seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And, well, to tell us all about who's coming up on the show tonight, who are some of our guests, it's a very, very warm welcome to Steve Curtin. Steve, well, we're not going to exactly call you globe-trotting, but you've been sort of trotting all over the state, all in the name of football. How are you, my friend? How's things?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Yeah, just feeling a touch tired. We've been up to Bendigo this weekend for some NPL football, down to Geelong today, back to Melbourne tonight. And, well, yeah, like you say, probably not globe-trotting, but look, in the spirit of, travel and fun and good times, let's go with that term and say globe-trotting. But, yeah, looking forward to the show tonight. Really big one and exciting to have some special guests on and very poignant as well. Can I launch into...
Let's go straight into
spill the beans?
Yes.
Oh, our guests tonight include a coach whose team has just entered the top 6. It's the coach of Altona Magic, John MARKOVSKI. His side is on a winning streak, and they weren't tipped by many, if any at all, to be sitting in the top 6. They've displaced Green Gully with a big win last night, a last-minute win, and they find themselves in the top 6. So can they stay there? It's very exciting. So he'll be one of our guests. We're also talking to DRAGAN, or Dave OSTOJIC from Moreland City, who is the coach after stepping in after Adrian Mathers stood down. And Dave was already working there as Adrian's assistant beforehand. So he's continuing on the good work that's going on there. And some good work there yesterday too. They were very unlucky not to get the 3 points against the more fancy Green Gully yesterday, but they still got a point, and that could be handy come the figurings at the end of the season, Tonchi, as well. And speaking about NPL and these competitions, we will pay homage to the state leagues as well tonight, because we've got Sydenham Park's captain Michael Sims joining us to talk about what's happening at the State League One Northwest Club and in the northwest of Melbourne. Lots of good things happening at Sydenham Park, as always, out there at Keilor Lodge. So, look, yeah, you wouldn't want to miss a minute, would you, Tonchi?
No, indeed not. But look, it's such a big show that two of us can't just we can't carry this show single-handedly. So we've got the third member of the Stooges, the trio, whatever you want to call us. It's a very, very warm welcome to Craig Filer. Good evening, Craig. It's lovely to see your smiley face.
Is it? Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Oh, mate, very good. It's Sunday night. I tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but come Sunday night, with all the football action that has been happening, and all of us wear different hats of commentators and presenters and writers and what you're not, coaches. Mate, come Sunday night, I'm knackered. I don't know about you guys. Craig, yourself?
Yeah, it's tiring. Times that we all do a lot of work. We all do our day jobs, and then obviously weekend with lots of doing other stuff. Whether it's commentator, whether it's coaching, whether we're all coaching, and then we do this obviously final thing on a Sunday evening before we finally do get to bed and start all over again on Monday morning.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes you can lose sight of just how important your health really is. And this weekend, over the course of the weekend, Andy Pascalidis, who's very, very well known with particularly fans of the old National Soccer League, he was a commentator with SBS Sport. He's the director and founder of Heartbeat of Football, and they did an activation, a series of free public health checks at the St Albans and Port Melbourne game on Friday night. Then over to Bendigo to follow Steve. And
yes, they were working up there.
It was at the Avondale game. And then again down in Geelong today at the North Geelong Melbourne Knights game. This is what Andy had to say at the North Geelong activation earlier today. We've got the Heartbeat for Football director, Andy Pascalidis, someone well known to Australian football circles and who's been on our sister podcasts in recent weeks, Corio Soccer Show and indeed the Game of Two Halves. But now it's the Football Out West Show. Andy, welcome to the Football Out West Show. How's the activations, the Heartbeat for Football activations gone this week in Victoria?
Fantastic. I mean, we this time last weekend we were at KC for the Victorian Special Olympics State Games, which includes Liverpool, and then it really ramped up on Thursday. We were at Balmoral Football Club at Derby. Then on Friday we went to the community business luncheon. Football Victoria had a bit of a stand there, a bit of an activation, just to get the awareness out there. And then it was brilliant. Friday night at Dinnermore, Saloons Dinnermore. What I found interesting now is that people were coming up and being checked without us sort of pushing it. It's a little bit different because we're right on the pitch, so people want to watch their sons play, and I get that. So it's a bit of a difference in terms of that engagement. But we're hoping to get about 50 or 60 people checked, which is the sort of norm. And in between all that, we had a wonderful day at Bendigo. The first time I've been to Bendigo. It's good for us to get out of Sydney as we are in Geelong today. And Avondale played Dandenong. Boy, oh boy, what a game. I mean, I've never seen him this season. It was great to meet up with Zoran Markovsky, who obviously he was here with Melbourne Grayshot, obviously he's been here before. And to come back to Geelong and to just have lunch now with the Sadinsky family has been that sort of level of engagement. And tomorrow night we're at Altona FC, Heidelberg, the Players Football Association, Glen Ira, so it doesn't stop.
Yeah, and overall, how are you finding people? Are they becoming a lot more aware of heart-related issues, cholesterol, blood pressure, etc.? Because we're dealing with a demographic where predominantly males are very proud and very stubborn and very reluctant. Are things changing?
Absolutely. When we're in trouble, instead of going to see a GP for a regular checkup, even though we're not presenting with issues, this model here that you're going to be checked on. You're getting checked, Becca will tell you, getting checked for blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol. They're three modifiable risk factors, three things that you can work on. We do know that the average this year is literally 1 in 2. It's around 51% of people checked can present with an issue. Even at Avondale, with a lot of their footballers, we found that a few of them had some issues as well. So, you know, heart disease, cardiovascular is not about old guys in their 50s and 60s with pot bellies, running around playing the Sunday game, then having 4 beers and smoking 25 cigarettes. Cardiovascular can affect anyone, any age, any shape, any religious background, anything. It is something that we should all really take a close look at.
All right, well, after that timely message from Andy Pascalides about checking up on our health, it's time to switch across to talk some news, because there's a bit happening this week, and we might just start by mentioning that the Matildas are getting very, very close to their first game in the FIFA Women's World Cup, and their final send-off match is on this Friday night at Docklands. It's the Matildas against France. It's a sold-out crowd. This is going to be absolutely huge, and this is their last bit of action before they play their first game against the Republic of Ireland the following Thursday night, and then it will be the match against Nigeria the following week in Brisbane, and of course that big game in Canada that probably will come down to that final group game when we play Canada at Amy Park the following week as well. So it's finally here, and it's very exciting stuff. So hope we've all got our tickets and ready to go and be swept up in World Cup fever. So
closer and closer.
Just on that, Steve, World Cup fever. I'm really disappointed, actually, that not more is being made. More is being made of it. It's less than 3 weeks away, and you thought there'd be more pizzazz, more advertisements, but there doesn't seem to be a great deal. Your thoughts?
Yeah, less than 2 weeks away. I mean, we've been saying this as well on the show for a few weeks now, and it's something that, apart from a few ads for CommBank and things like that, we could be doing a lot better. And you think every single business and every single shop front should have something in there that's paying tribute to the Matildas. Because I tell you what, if they do go on a really good run and make it to the quarters, the semis, the final, or win the tournament, you can imagine everyone will be jumping on the bandwagon then. But don't wait until it's too late. I urge you, if you've got a small business, if you've got some sort of space where you can promote it, if you're a school teacher, whatever it may be, get the kids to come and do a project on their favourite Matildas player, all that sort of stuff, because too much is not enough, I would say.
Gents, I could not agree more. I to be actually honest, I mean, Westfield, for example, I'm just taking them as an example, but CommBank and NAB and Watch Unite and all of these different major organisations have sponsored the Socceroos or the Matildas or Australian football. You walk into Westfield, for example, there's nothing there. There's no decorations. There's absolutely. I don't expect much from the mainstream media in Australia. Let be honest. But even some of the channels that are running it, it's actually quite underperforming. To be honest, I'm sure our mate Brenton Ray will have a lot to say in it as well. But it is here's a good one. Brenton Ray already saying 7. Oh, I'm going to pop this up there. 7 network insiders are suggesting the Matildas will attract the national audience of more than 3 million viewers for Matildas versus Ireland. So this is what they're saying. They're expecting 3 million viewers, but there is no pomp. There is no ceremony. There is no. I mean, honestly, it's almost like we don't deserve to have a World Cup in our midst.
Well, I think we spoke about this last year.
Yeah, we did.
First found, or even year before that, we were speaking and saying that, if Australia doesn't jump on board with this, it's going to help with the future of the young Matildas coming through, all those young kids that are starting playing football, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, who look at the likes of Sam Kerr, and it's going to be gone in a month's time. It's going to be gone, and we were hoping that there was going to be some kind of legacy left from it. Apart from a few clubs who have had some FIFA grants, and we've been lucky very enough at Werribee. The rest of it, I don't know what's going to come of it, and I think it's a really sad state of affairs that you go to the UK, you go to Europe, you go to South America when there's a World Cup on. You look at the Euro Championships in the UK over the summer for the Euros, and attracting crowds of 80, 90,000, and it's on every TV channel, it's on every news. There's nothing here, is there?
Yeah, no, there isn't. Steve?
Yeah, look, it's certainly, it's swept up and pushed along by the dedicated few. And, we are the sort of people who have sold out all the stadiums, but the casual onlooker who will be swept up in this when it starts, they're probably not really aware what's going on. You see keyboard warriors saying, they couldn't sell out venue X, Y, and Z. No, it's these venues are all selling or sold out. So there's no lack of interest from at least the football community itself, but it should be getting the broad appeal that it should be. But we must move on because we'll be out of time. And let's talk about some of the cup competitions this week. We've got the Nike FC Cup this week. This is swept under the crept under the radar, should I say, a little bit. We've got Calder United and South Melbourne on Wednesday night in the first semi-final. So that's a big match, Calder and South. South might be slight favourites. We'll see. Calder have got a pretty good team these days after bringing in some of their good players from that Western United squad. The other match in the semis is the Casey Comets against the FC Bulleen Lions. That one is at Casey Comets' venue. Look, I fancy that FC Bulleen Lions will get through to the final there, and it might be a South versus Bulleen final. But what's your opinion? Do let us know in the comments, and look forward to the big Nike FC Cup final. It's coming up fast as well. Also, the semi-finals of the Doherty Cup, a really big game on a Wednesday night is the Knights hosting the Oakley Cannons. That one at 7:30 at Knight Stadium. And I won't be able to make it to Regional Victoria this time, but I'll be tuning in on TV because on Tuesday it's Goulburn Valley Suns hosting Heidelberg United. Heidelberg should be hot favourites, but wow, the Goulburn Valley Suns have swept all before them in the cup competition this season, and they'll be the sentimental favourites from everyone else tuning in, apart from those that wear yellow and black.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what a great opportunity for them, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there'll be a lot of eyeballs on a lot of sets of eyeballs on that particular match. That's Tuesday at 7:30 live from John McEwen Reserve. If you are in the Goulburn Valley area or somewhere up in Northern Victoria, do get along and make that a really good occasion, because that's exciting. Of course, they've got an Australia Cup tie against Apia Leichhardt coming up as well. So yeah, exciting times up at Goulburn Valley Suns, I have to say. Now, we're going to look at the NPLW results from the weekend as part of our news segment. Tonchi, is that correct?
We are indeed. And there's the competition standings. But, Steve, you've got all of the results handy. So let's go through the results of the latest round of matches played in the NPLW Victoria competition.
Yeah, so a good afternoon for the Preston Lions on their home turf at BT Corner. 3-0 winners against Heidelberg United this afternoon. A couple of goals from Caitlin Torpy, who's been redeployed as a striker, and she's banging them in, one in the 6th and one in the 92nd. And Lynn Dahl as well with a goal on 44 minutes. So the Preston Lions getting some handy points there for their campaign. Bulleen Lions, they had a handy 4-2 win themselves, actually pushing Burundara Kerry Eagles up at the top end of the table. 4-2 winners. And it was Maya MARKOVSKI, who's come across from Melbourne Victory in the A-League Women's, scoring a hat-trick, including a spot kick. Burn also on the score sheet. And it was Kayla Diva with 2 goals for Bayside United there. So a high-scoring game. And there was goals galore all across this round as well. FV Emerging at home went down 1-3 against Alamein. Cortolino with the goal for FV Emerging. And then for Alamein, it was Sharambulis and Allen and Burke all getting themselves on the score sheet. Meanwhile, South Melbourne had to dig deep to rescue a point. Danielle Wise in the 93rd minute, cancelling out Barbieri's spot kick from the 9th minute. So Box Hill almost getting all 3 points against South Melbourne there. So that result hurts South Melbourne a little bit. And an exciting round of NPLW competition there with lots of goals, guys.
Okay, well, we're looking at the fixtures for next week. We've got the Alamein South Melbourne game on Saturday afternoon. Burundara Kerry Eagles hosting Southern United, so it's top versus bottom. That's at the Veneto Club. Saturday night at 6 p.m. Heidelberg United taking on Calder United at the Grange. Obviously, with Olympic Village out of action. That's also going to be next. In fact, that's next Sunday evening at 6:30 p.m. Bayside United has the belt bye. On Monday night, Bulleen Lions host Box Hill United. And then Football Victoria Emerging and Preston Lions. That game has been moved to Friday, August the 4th. So a little bit of a break there in between drinks, so to speak.
And Tonchi, just apologies to all of the Calder United and Burundara Kerry Eagles fans. I missed reading out the goal scorers from their match. That was the real high-scoring thriller.
It was 4-3, wasn't it?
It was 4-3, and another bunch of goals for Aquino for Burundara Kerry Eagles. She's been on fire. She scored a hat-trick in this one. There was a couple of goals for Raquel Duralis, who scored a penalty and a goal from open play, and Mitchell also scoring a spot kick as well for Calder. So, Calder scoring goals and still not getting any points in that one, losing that one 4-3. Burundara Kerry Eagles have really shown that they're the team to beat. So impressive coming up from
newly
the
promoted
VPLW and topping the table in the NPLW.
No problem. Okay, thanks for that, Steve. We're going to have a very short break. When we return, it's time to talk NPL Victoria, and we're going to have our very, very first guest. He is the coach of Altona Magic, John MARKOVSKI. Can't wait to have him, Big Jonesy, on the show. He's in the green room, ready to come in. Straight after him, we'll be talking to DRAGAN OSTOJIC, the Moreland City coach, and boy, they almost pulled the upset of the season yesterday against Green Gully. But more about that a little bit later after this short break. Don't go away, folks.
Welcome to Anytime Fitness in Werribee.
The club with the most supportive, welcoming and friendliest members and staff.
Whether you're a first-timer, gym goer or just an everyday person, we are here for you.
A recently renovated facility offers you everything you need to get started with your health and fitness goals.
Our club offers brand new state-of-the-art cardio equipment, an amazing functional zone for group classes, a lifting zone, and really does cater for every single person. So don't miss out. Come see us in club to redeem this offer.
Welcome back to the Football Outwear Show, and it is episode 120. Gents, I can't believe it. We always say it was only meant to be just a little bit of a flash in the pan, but 120 episodes later, 5 seasons later, we're still going. And Craig, it's now time to introduce our next guest, our first guest.
It is, and it's I've been trying to get him on for some time. He obviously got a good result yesterday, hence the reason why he's coming on to the show tonight. But it is a pleasure to have Jonesy himself, John MARKOVSKI, on the show. Good evening, John. How are we?
Good evening, guys. How are we?
Good.
Very well, thanks.
On a fantastic result yesterday.
Yeah, it's always a good result when you win, Craig. The boys are coming along quite well in the last couple of weeks, so hopefully we can continue that run for next week.
And Jonesy, can you talk us through your game last night? You went into this one against Heidelberg United. They're often entertaining games when you guys meet, and it took until the 90th minute for you guys to find the winner, and exciting for everyone there in person, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we left it late. Things are moving forward. Heidelberg's always been up there. They're a big club, but to beat them and do the double on them this year was great for our club.
Yeah. Now, mate. Sorry, Steve, you were going to say something?
No, your turn, Tonch.
Okay. Look, having your son there, he's a Golden Boot at the moment. Jonas doing so well as well. But there's so many other avenues to goal as well. It's a very attacking formation, and sometimes you run the risk of conceding goals, but a lot of the time you're getting the results that you need. You seem to be hitting the form at the right time at the right time of year. Everything seemed to be falling into place, is it?
Yeah, I mean, look, Jonas has got a job to do in the team like most of the other players, yeah. He's scoring goals. There is a couple others getting on the score sheet, which is great. I mean, Craig Moore and myself have been working fairly hard from pre-season to get a particular style and, the way we want to attack. And obviously, if you don't score goals, you won't win games. So, we're out there to entertain, but also play a good brand of football.
That's really interesting that you say that, John. And obviously, when you got the job last season, or beginning of the season, for the season, obviously there would have been a few eyebrows raised that obviously you'd gone back into the role there at Magic, which you've held previously for reasons whether we don't know, it didn't quite last. What was the reason for going back this year? And you talked about what you did in pre-season. How has things differed this time around to your previous involvement with the football club?
Well, this time it's just basically on what I thought in what would benefit us in our philosophy and style of football. So the kids that we've actually brought in fit into that mould, and obviously, we're working fairly hard with the squad from pre-season to get into the start of the season, and obviously at the start we were a little bit iffy. We were trying to get the kids playing in the particular style we want them to play, but at the moment they're I think they've picked it up. So, they're a young bunch of kids. So, consistency is a key factor in any sport.
John, I just wanted to again touch on Jonas's scoring form as well. It's really impressive. 17 goals in 19 appearances. Is a lot of it down to just having a lot of confidence this year for him, or is there anything different in particular that's seen him really shoot up the scoring charts?
Oh, look, I mean, yeah, obviously for himself, he's got a lot of confidence in his ability to score goals. But, you got players like Tommy Sammy, Sian Cuba, Charlie Leach, Robert Harding. There's plenty of attacking power there that can also assist rather than just scoring. And, it's a team effort. And, he's been the fortunate one that's been scoring most of the goals. But, above board overall, I think quite a few of them have scored heaps of goals, which is great.
John, let's have a quick look at the ladder there, and then we'll also look at the results of round 21. Some really interesting results. On Friday night, Melbourne Saints came up against Port Melbourne Sharks. Port Melbourne Sharks defeated the Saints 2-0. Avondale up in Bendigo defeated Dandenong Thunder 5-1. Bentley Greens lost to Oakley Cannons 3-1. Moreland City drew with Green Gully. We'll talk to Moreland City boss DRAGAN OSTOJIC after this. It was 1-1 there. And earlier today, a very clinical Melbourne Knights defeated North Geelong 3-0. And South Melbourne was held to a 2-2 draw by Hume City. So there's the ladder after the completion of round 21, obviously with that game between South Melbourne and Heidelberg United to come. But John's sitting pretty in the top 6 there. What's the run home like for you with 5 games remaining?
Oh, look, it looks pretty because we're in the 6. I mean, when you highlight it in that colour, it
looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But, we'll continue. I mean, look, no game's easy in this league. I think we've got St Albans this week. So, hopefully the boys are switched on. We've just got to concentrate on getting 3 points there, and then we can move on to the week after. But, we enjoyed last night's win, but obviously tomorrow we start focusing on playing against St Albans.
Craig.
Yeah, and I think it's I think then just looking at the fixtures, then you've got Oakley Cannons at home. So I think this week is another massive week for you, just to keep the pressure on Green Gully, who's just sat behind you on that 1 point. Obviously, just going back to throughout the season, you mentioned you've got a lot of young kids that are coming through the group there, which is fantastic to see. And we say a lot on this show that some coaches don't give the youngsters probably enough credit and enough opportunities to put themselves on that stage. You're sat in 6th place. How good are the youngsters got? And apart from obviously Jonas, which is banging in the goals for you, who else have you got around the club that's doing really well for you?
Oh, look, there's a lot of young kids. I mean, we had Zach Bowling. He's left the club, obviously signed at Newcastle Jets as a goalkeeper. We got Charlie Leach, who's 20 years old, a young kid. We've got Ashton Hawalia, who's young. His brother Zane's there as well. We've got Sian Cuba, who's, I think, 24 years old. Robert Harding, he's 22, I think. So the average age is fairly young in our squad, and obviously to get something going this year and maybe build on it for next year as well.
And as well, John, in defence, you were celebrating this week with your captain, Tommy Verndl, celebrating game number 50 for the club since he came down from New South Wales. Speak to us a little bit about his leadership skills and what he brings to your team and that stability in defence.
Oh, look, Tommy's, he's a young kid. He's taken the role. We thought he can stand up to be skipper with the team, and not only on the field but off the field. He's a gentleman. He works really hard. His preparations and obviously after games. And his leadership has been excellent this year, and getting the boys switched on for game day, yeah.
Excellent. John, and I must not let you go without mentioning Craig Moore as well. What's he like to work with? He never stops pacing around and moving around. Does he do a good job or drive you mad? I had to mention his name.
No, I mean, look, like I said earlier, Craig and I, we had a meeting prior to when we started. We're both on the our philosophies are exactly the same in the way we want to play, and yeah, he paces as much as I pace because sometimes it gets a little bit nervy and you get frustrated. But Craig's been excellent, to work with him. It's been really good.
Okay, John, thanks very much. We're going to have to leave you there. We've got a lot of guests tonight. But yeah, that's right. The next game for Altona Magic next Sunday at 3 p.m. up at Churchill Reserve against St Albans Saints, a big Western Suburbs derby. Mate, we wish you all the very best for the rest of the season. And yeah, it certainly looks good when the name's in the top 6. So let's hope we can stay there for all Altona Magic fans.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Good on you. Thanks.
Thank you, John.
John MARKOVSKI from Altona Magic, an absolute legend of the game. And Craig, that was a really good question, I thought, asking about the youngsters, the juniors. There's some really good youngsters, and they're being given a go. And when I look at the A-League and how they recycle some of their players, and it's, I don't know. I'm not going to go there again, but it is really good. And all three of us commentate at NPL games, seeing a lot of some of the youngsters that are coming up through the ranks. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and we do see a lot of these youngsters given an opportunity. Next listers, Moreland City have had a few come through their ranks over the last season. Also with young Max Bassetto, who's obviously gone to Western United. You've got Fulton, who's there. There's still only 20, I think he might be now. So a few of these clubs now are starting to give these youngsters an opportunity, and it's really good to see because, as you said, the A-League clubs don't tend to give these kids an opportunity to put themselves out there and see what they can do.
Well, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we return, you spoke about Moreland City. We'll be talking to the Moreland City gaffer, DRAGAN OSTOJIC, and we'll be asking him about some of those exciting youngsters as well, and as well as the game on the weekend. And boy, what a good game that was. Okay. Don't go away, folks. It is the Football Out West show. You are watching episode 120.
Carpentry by NJT is based in the western suburbs and has many years of experience to assist you in sourcing any and all of your carpentry needs. Carpentry by NJT are great supporters of local soccer clubs in Melbourne's western suburbs, including ambitious State League One outfit Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Home Builders Corp, meanwhile, is a Melbourne-based construction company by the same owners with more than 15 years' experience. Home Builders Corp specialises in new homes and unit developments. With attention to detail, they work to the highest standard to satisfy their customers with a very quick turnaround. For further details about how either Carpentry by NJT or Home Builders Corp can help you, contact owner-manager Nick on 0410 576 018 or via email at nick@homebuilderscorp.com.au. Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp are the proud major sponsors of the Football Out West show.
All right, welcome back to the Football Out West show. And again, a big thanks to our sponsors, Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp. But it's time to get our next guest on the screen. We've gone from one NPL Victoria coach who had a good weekend to another one who was picking up a point yesterday and almost could have been even more, but a good result nonetheless against a team who was sitting in the top 6 before the match started. And it is the now head coach of Moreland City, Mr. DRAGAN OSTOJIC, who joins us on screen now. And first of all, DRAGAN or Dave, which do you prefer?
Oh, mate, it makes no difference. Dave's probably easier.
We can run with that then. Dave, how are you going tonight, and how are you reflecting looking back on yesterday's game? As there'd be some mixed feelings about it, no doubt.
Oh, yeah, look, God, where do I start? The boys were pretty upset and pretty devastated by copying a goal so late in the game, but it's football. They played out of their skins yesterday, and they deserved to get something out of it. We got a point, and we'll move on to next week now. So.
Yeah, Thomas scored in the 67th minute, Corey Thomas, and then Lampard in the 93rd minute for Green Gully. That must have really. Well, was it you already starting to count your chickens, Dave, or was it a case of the boys just switched off, or were they just very, very lucky to get that goal 3 minutes into stoppage time?
Look, let's face facts. Green Gully are a team that you can't take lightly at any stage of the game. They're very well coached, very well drilled, great players. And what we've found in the NPL this year is that one little bit of lapse of concentration or just a wrong position at the wrong time, and you end up suffering the consequences of it. And it's happened to us on a few occasions where we've gone out and played great football throughout the game, and some decisions we've been punished for. So we're trying to just improve each week, and I think the boys are. And once I think it all settled down after the game, I think they were pretty high-spirited with their performance. It was good.
Yeah, and they could probably reflect on what you say is a good performance. Certainly Corey Thomas will be reflecting on a fantastic goal that he scored yesterday. But I wasn't at the game, but by all accounts, the weather conditions were pretty horrendous up there at Green Gully with the wind, and it must have hurt at the end of that game to drop 2 points. So move on to next week, as you said, Melbourne Knights next week. They don't come any easier for you, do they?
Definitely doesn't. It's
on the bottom there, and
we've learned this year. I think it's you finish a game and then you look at your next game and you think, oh God, there's just no relief. You've got to knuckle down and get straight into it and start working. As of Monday, we reassess everything and then start planning for the next week. So,
and just out of that, as a coach, Dave, how do you go into your session tomorrow, and obviously pick those boys up, because as you said, they've got to forget what happened now on Saturday and pick themselves up for 3 big training sessions before your game next week. How do you go into the session tomorrow? What does that session look like?
One thing that I can say honestly out of the bottom of my heart, this group of boys are so resilient. They are so together. They've been through thick and thin. Obviously, the majority of them were there to win the championship last year, and they've been through every game this year, and yet they come out each week. They do what they have to do. They get the training, and they just work for each other. It's not an issue. Come the Tuesday, we'll sit down. I'm sure people will be upset about it, but they move on pretty quickly, and they know what needs to be done. So.
Steve.
And Dave, last time I saw you, it was before the Avondale game at CB Smith Reserve a couple of weeks ago, and we're speaking then, the challenges of this time of year, and some of the injuries start to mount. It's hard to bring players in that mid-season window, and I think since that chat that afternoon, you lost Bavkar to a season-ending injury. You had Kalamata, your keeper, was forced off injured as well in the second half of that one too. It seems like I think you'd had Spall out injured. Looks like he's come back. That's good news, but it seems like a real challenge to get a team on the park each week. Is that the way it feels?
Oh yeah, look, definitely. Obviously, we had our team's very young to start with anyway, but we gave young Jake Chunter his debut yesterday, and what a performance he put in. Absolutely fantastic. So when you look at it, I think maybe 6 or 7 of our players are under 23, and probably 5 or 6 of them are under 21. So being the club that we are, whether it's by design or by situation, we get a lot of young players, obviously, and we're quite prepared to give them a go. Sometimes you get a hell of a lot out of it. Young players that are coming through that want to go out and prove something to everyone. So, yeah.
Now, Dave, if we look at the next 5 games, so the run home, we've got Melbourne Knights next week, followed by Dandenong Thunder, Heidelberg United, St Albans Saints, and then finishing it off with Oakley Cannons. Now, 2 of those teams in the top 4. Prior to this weekend, it would have been a daunting run home, and one would have sort of said, wow, this is going to be tough. But after yesterday's result and after yesterday's great achievement, where you just had that victory snatched away at the very end, has the mentality sort of started to shift? Has the belief in themselves started to shift, and they're sort of looking even at next week's Knights game and thinking, maybe we could do it. Why not?
Look, the belief in the boys, like I said, honestly, we go out there every week and we believe we can compete with every team. again, like I said, it's just been a process of where to find our feet in NPL has been pretty difficult. But as we're going on and on, we go out every week and we expect to put in a performance that we can take something from each team. And if we keep going out there doing the right things, we'll hopefully pick up a few more points before the end of the year. So that's what it's all about. But yeah, it's very daunting to go out against someone like Melbourne Knights, and but the boys will be up for it. They'll be ready, and yeah, we'll be screaming to get out there and play some good football again.
It's at 4 o'clock next Sunday. Craig.
Yeah, no, off the football field for a second, the club are doing some great work behind the scenes with their promotional stuff. For those that haven't seen it, I think it's called In the Eyes of Moreland. I think there's been two videos so far, run for about 10 minutes. If nobody's got a chance to have a look at those, I'll put the links up for them. They are on YouTube. Great little documentary that's been put together, Dave. How has that all come around, and what's been the feedback on it? I've watched both of them now, and they really are fantastic.
Look, how it started or where it started, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, you're right. It's a great little documentary. There's a lot of history, obviously, in the club and where Moreland's been and where they've come from, and you know, obviously over the last, especially since 2014, you know, being promoted from state leagues to NPLs and now to NPL1 back to the biggest league, which is an achievement for a team like us. But it's a great documentary. I think there might be maybe one or two more parts. I'm not too sure, and I'm not too sure when and if they'll get finished. But yeah, it's definitely a good watch, and it just shows the determination of the club in general, and that goes right from, you know, the guys in the committee to the players to everyone that works around there. It's very much, if you want to put it, a community-based committee and club where everyone puts in the hard work. It's good.
Yeah, and that's one of the things you notice when attending Moreland City games, even though you're not at the usual venue and you've shifted to CV Smith Reserve, there's still that real sense of community. There's people turning up there in the old club colours, you know, some real elder statesmen of the club that come along and support you guys every week. And or everyone's always got a smile on their face, win, lose or draw, and really positive sort of atmosphere. So looking forward to seeing those. And one player I might look forward to seeing behind the scenes and seeing what he's like behind the scenes would be young Fletcher Fulton. He's been a real star again this season, 6 goals, you know, stepping up from playing NPL 2 after coming up from Tasmania for uni. Does he sort of typify the spirit that you have in your team? He doesn't look like someone who's physically going to tear you a new one, but he catches teams off guard almost every week and scores these crazy goals where he can capable of running the ball from the halfway line and tucking it away.
Fletcher's an absolute legend of a kid. Yeah, he obviously, I think he when he came to Moreland, he'd sent out something like 30 emails, and we were probably the only teams that replied to him. But when he came down, he just fit in so well. He's one of the nicest kids. He's respectful. He's loved by everybody in the team, and I feel as though he loves everyone in the team. But what a talent! The kid's got it in spades. He's very raw. And yeah, within the drop of a hat, Fletch can turn a game on its head. So as you saw probably against Hume, where, you know, 2 goals in 6 minutes, and what a couple of goals where he's done really, really well with what he's done. But that's Fletcher in a nutshell. Very unassuming character when you're walking and when you probably first meet him. But as you get to know Fletch, he's got a very quirky, funny side to him. So.
Good stuff. Dave, on that note, thank you very much for joining us. We're wishing you all the very best for the run home. The last 5 games of the season should be an absolute grandstand finish in the NPL Victoria competition. And thank you for joining us here on the Football Out West show.
Thanks very much, boys. Good luck. Great show. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Dave.
Thanks,
all
Dave.
the best.
Good on you. Lovely gentleman, Dave OSTOJIC there. Folks, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we return, gents, it's time to look at NPL 2 chaos competition, and boy, was there a result today that has just thrown everything out the window. I tell you what, and NPL 3 Victoria as well. You don't want to miss this discussion, folks. Hang around. It's Football Out West Show. That's right, folks. Our sister podcast, The Game of Two Halves, that is on tomorrow night, 8 p.m, and it will be simulcast live on the Football Out West Facebook page as well. Gents, it's time to talk NPL 2 now. Craig, this is a competition, a division that you know oh so well. But, mate, this is just insane. Like, the scores and the results from the weekend's games, top versus bottom, well, that was played, earlier today? Wow. Let's go through some of these scores and some of these results, hey? First of all, your summation of the Chaos League. I mean, as an insider, what is it that makes it so enigmatic?
Oh, look, Tonch, I think
it's amazing.
Show throughout the year, and it's been difficult for me to come on when those sort of guests are on, because obviously I do have an interest in the league. But I think this year is probably the most competitive NPL 2 league that probably there ever been, and potentially it's going to be for a long time to come. When you've got the powerhouse of Preston, you've got your dandy cities, you've got Kingston City, who were almost relegated this time last year to now sit on top of the ladder. You've got Western United, that are a fledgling club that have got these fantastic group of the best young kids in the West, firing all. The reality is, and both John and Dave have said it, if you don't turn up and you're not in the right mindset when you turn up, anything's possible. And you've seen that, with the results over the weekend, and particularly today's result, with Kingston going down to Pascoe Vale, who have been going through the mire for the last 5 or 6 weeks, but go away to Kingston this afternoon and pull off a 3-1 result. You just have no idea what's going to happen, and if you don't turn up on the day, you can get found out very, very easy. And I suppose when you look at football, that's how you want it to be. You don't want teams running away with it at the top. You want everybody in with an opportunity of performing and being with an opportunity of promotion. And you look at the ladder, we will do shortly. Anybody from 10 teams could potentially get promoted still. So.
That's the wrong one. That's the NPL 3. We're jumping the gun a little bit, but there we go. There's the NPL 2. Steve, let's go through those results. There's still one game to go of this round, but let's go through the results of the games that have been played.
Yeah, so Friday night, Preston held to a draw yet again. This one at CB Smith Reserve against the Brunswick Juventus side. I think that's Preston's third draw in a row. So. They slide to fourth on the table there on 35 points, equal with Western United also on 35, but inferior goal difference. Northcote City, the cup specialists this year, they were 3-0 winners against Brunswick City in that all Northern Suburbs match. That was also on Friday night. It was a surprise result somewhat here as well, because Western United were more fancied over Melbourne City, but it was the Sky Blue side getting a 3-1 win yesterday on Western United's home turf. Manningham United Blues 2-1 winners yesterday at home against Werribee City. Dandenong City 3-2 winners over Lang Warren yesterday, courtesy of a last-minute 93rd minute Jacob Alexander finish that got them a crucial 3 points, and that sees them finish the weekend in second place. And that result that you mentioned earlier, Craig, it was Pascoe Vale 3 on the road against Kingston City 1. So a 3-1 win on the road for the bottom side against the top. Just to reiterate that, in case we haven't mentioned it enough, and underline that is quite a crazy result. There's still one game to come as well if you haven't had enough NPL 2 football yet. Bulleen Lions and the Eastern Lions, a Lions derby. Maybe that's another strength of this league. It's got 3 different sets of Lions in it. Maybe that makes it more competitive too in another way. But that's 8:15 at the Veneto Club tomorrow night, and there should be some streaming options available for that one. I think the Bulleen Lions have been streaming some games on their Facebook page if it's not a NPL TV game. Is that right?
Yeah,
Craig?
live at 8:30 tomorrow on the Bulleen or FC Bulleen Lions Facebook page. Yeah.
So, there you go. You can get, especially with the cup games this week, you can get football every night of the week. We've got you covered. What is it? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then we'll get you through till the Matildas on Friday night and some NPL on Friday night. So there you go.
There we go. Well, we got 3 Lions, 6 Cities. It is an interesting league, and there's a couple of Uniteds as well. So we've got the lot there in NPL 2 Victoria. Looking ahead to next week, Friday night, Dandenong City hosting Brunswick Juventus. Pascoe Vale at home to Northcote City at CB Smith Reserve. Preston Lions taking on Kingston City at BT Connor Reserve. Does the action get any bigger next Friday night? I'll tell you what.
It's a huge by the way up at
massive game, yeah.
That's a huge game. That's a must win for both teams, really.
Yeah. Well, if Preston Lions win, they'll leapfrog Kingston City. If Kingston City win, they will distance themselves from Preston Lions to the tune of 5 points. So a massive game, as you said, Craig. Now on Saturday, Brunswick City taking on Bulleen Lions. Eastern Lions at home to Werribee City. Manningham United Blues taking on Melbourne City. And then on Sunday, Western United hosting Langwarrin. So some big games there happening in that competition. Chaos competition. It really is. Gents, let's move now to NPL 3. We had a sneak peek of the ladder there as well. A big game that was held earlier today. Craig, you can talk about that. Top of the table clash between Caroline Springs and Melbourne Victory.
Yeah, I was at the game along with a few of our guests, Alex Sivrakoski, who was doing the NPL.TV commentary, and obviously President of Caroline Springs, George Cross. Mark Sultana was also at the game. A game in which George Cross defeated Melbourne Victory 2-0 up there at Ep18 in what was a really good game of football from start to finish. Both teams on the front foot, more so George Cross. Obviously, Melbourne Victory have had a few players that have been drafted into their senior squad, which has had an effect on their squad. But, you know, I have to say George Cross looked very, very good today. Across the park, 1-11. We're probably undone, and I'm going to have to be very careful what I say here, but undone by a couple of very, very dubious decisions from the officials, particularly the man in the middle. And George is again down to having 2 players sent off late in the game. Rhys Saunders just 5 minutes after coming off for a challenge in the box. Which at first instance looked like a little bit innocuous, but having seen a photo of it, his boot was high, so we can probably think that was just. But the second card to Tyler James after the whistle had gone, I have no idea, and that really started some problems both on and off the field, which nobody likes to see. But unfortunately, I will have to say that. I am in that commentary, so I have to be very careful. Mitchell today was very, very poor.
Steve, let's go through the rest of the results of round 17.
Yeah, so the other matches going through from yesterday afternoon, Beau Morris got themselves a handy 3 points with a 3-1 win over Essendon Royal. So the teams at the lower section of the table are picking up points at the time of the year when they need to. Goulburn Valley Suns 4-1 winners against Box Hill. So Goulburn Valley trying to keep the pressure on that top 2. The top 2 keep trying to run away with Georgie's getting the 3 points, of course, today. Doveton 1, Ballarat City 2. So another of the sides at the wrong end of the table. They're picking up some points Ballarat City under their player coach, Michael Trigger, moving across from Preston in the mid-season. He was almost going to join us tonight, but he might join us on the show maybe in a few weeks' time, perhaps talk about Ballarat City's form if they can keep moving up and keep getting points.
Steve, isn't it?
Sorry?
3 wins on the bounce now.
I believe so. They still got that 5-point gap between them and Geelong and an extra point to safety, but it's certainly not out of the question if they keep going like this, because clearly they're doing something right at the moment. So that was a 2-1 win over mid-table Doveton. Nunawading City with a 3-2 win on the road at Boroondara Carey Eagles. And Geelong's run-of-outs continued with a 2-0 home loss at Stead Park yesterday evening to the North Sunshine Eagles. And as Craig mentioned, it was the win for Georgies at Epping Stadium against Melbourne Victory's reserve squad today.
Looking ahead to round 18 next weekend, Box Hill United hosting Beaumaris in a Friday night clash under lights at Wembley Park. Also on Friday night, under lights at Cross Keys Reserve, Essendon Royals hosting Doveton City, and then the North Sunshine Eagles hosting Melbourne Victory at Moore Park, also on Friday night. So Friday night football is all the rage in NPL 3. On Saturday, Nunawading City host Geelong Soccer Club. Big game at City Vista Pavilion on Saturday evening at 5:30 p.m. Caroline Springs George Cross hosting Goulburn Valley Suns. So it's 2 versus 3. And then over at the Ballarat Regional Soccer Facility at 2 p.m. on Sunday, Ballarat City hosting Boroondara Carey Eagles. So this, if we talk about the competition of chaos being full of excitement, full of unknown, full of uncertainty, well, NPL Victoria, NPL 3 Victoria is just as exciting. Gents,
just on that, guys,
yes,
we're talking about NPL 2, and obviously NPL 3. Now, there's a number of games being played on Friday night. I might have missed a conversation earlier on, but aren't the Matildas playing Friday night?
Yeah, I thought there might have been maybe, some games shifted to Saturday for that reason and try and keep some clear air this time of year.
I just don't understand. It goes back to our conversation we had at the beginning that, we wonder why there's not an appetite for it. There is an appetite, but people just are not aware of it when we've still got games being played the night of an international league. It beggars belief.
I know I know it's not the World Cup per se, but Brenton Ray, I think, makes a very good comment in the comment section. Football Victoria Competitions Department haven't actually moved away a lot of games that are clashing, so to speak, with the kickoff of a lot of the Women's World Cup games. I mean, honestly would have thought, in this time that, you'd either have a complete break or you, at worst, Craig, you're right. You wouldn't schedule it on the same night that the Matildas are playing, and lo and behold, right in our own city. So it's pretty weird. I think next week we'll be talking a fair bit about that, actually. It will be time for the Women's World Cup and probably to have a really good preview. So I think next week we'll be looking at that amongst all the news that is happening at the moment. But, folks, we're going to take a very, very short break. Look, when we return, we're going to be talking State League 1 men's football, and we'll be talking to Sydenham Park's Michael Sims, who will be joining us. There's a right royal battle going on for the promotion spot, and a bit of controversy there as well. Controversy's never far away from football in Victoria. When we return, folks, it's time to talk State League 1 football with our next guest. Don't go away.
Carpentry by NJT is based in the western suburbs and has many years of experience to assist you in sourcing any and all of your carpentry needs. Carpentry by NJT are great supporters of local soccer clubs in Melbourne's western suburbs, including ambitious State League 1 outfit, Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Home Builders Corp, meanwhile, is a Melbourne-based construction company by the same owners with more than 15 years' experience. Home Builders Corp specialises in new homes and unit developments. With attention to detail, they work to the highest standard to satisfy their customers with a very quick turnaround. For further details about how either Carpentry by NJT or Home Builders Corp can help you, contact owner-manager Nick on 0410 576 018 or via email at nick@homebuilderscorp.com.au. Carpentry by NJT, and Home Builders Corp are the proud major sponsors of the Football Out West show.
All right, welcome back to the Football Out West show. We're up to our final guest of the night. Thank you for staying with us for the full hour so far and what is to come. And joining us now from State League One's Sydenham Park, and they were triumphant yesterday, 3-1 winners against Corio. A couple of goals for Jay Hart and Borbor Sam also on the score sheet at Kilo Lodge yesterday, but it is their captain, Michael Sims. Good evening, Michael. How are you doing tonight, and how did you see that game yesterday?
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me on your show.
Pleasure
to be having a chat at Football Out West. So thank you very much. Yesterday was a great win against Corio, and it was even a little bit more special because we had our sponsors, all our sponsors watching us. We had a bit of a sponsored day out, and just to get that win against Corio in front of the sponsors was just basically was really nice. So yeah.
Now, if we have a look at the ladder there, Michael, Sydenham Park in second spot with 35 points, only 3 behind Altona City now. Although Altona City does have a game in hand against Upfield, and Upfield are quite up and down. Yesterday they defeated Whittlesea United 2-1, so that was a good result for them. Other results: Banyule City 1, Brimbank Stallions 3, Keilor Park 2, Whittlesea Rangers 0, and Westgate 1 defeating Strathmore 0, just to put that little bit of extra pressure there at the top. But it's as I understand it, and here's the little bit of controversy. It's only the top team that automatically gets through to the NPL 3 competition. What about the second place team? Is there playoff, or is there not any playoff involved?
I believe that there's not any playoff involved anymore, which is a little bit disappointing. Obviously, the rules were set at the beginning of the season and then has been changed halfway through. So I think that playoff game was available throughout until obviously just a couple of weeks ago when FFV have obviously changed things up, which obviously is not ideal. And we think it's obviously a bit harsh on our end as well. But look, we just got to take, each game at a time and, business as usual and, work towards that number 1 spot.
Unbelievable.
How hard is it, Michael, for the players, to concentrate on that, knowing that there's a few points difference between you and Altona City, and obviously that news that broke probably 2 weeks ago. How hard is it for you as a group of players and for you as a captain around the group?
Yeah, look, when we found out the news, it wasn't great news, but in my personal opinion, it actually fueled the players up a lot more. I think we got a real positive reaction out of everyone. And essentially, look, we've been, winning games, and we're sort of on form. You got your main players like your Borbors, your Jays are starting to score now. So when they're on fire, and some of these boys are all on, there's no real stopping us. So we just got to continue that sort of run for the next, I think, is it 8 or 7 games left we've got?
I think it's 6 games.
6 games left.
Okay, well, there you go. But 6 games left. We just got to keep this winning streak alive, and then just sort of hope that Altona sort of, drop points along the way. And, depending on what happens in terms of that decision, whether that rule change basically stands or not at the end of the season is a different story. But we've got to look for that number 1 spot.
Yeah, that sounds like the right mindset to take. And adding to that pressure as well, you got pressure from the competition rule changes. And then did you feel the pressure yesterday as well? I'm looking at the club's Facebook page. Looks like there's about 60 people in the sponsorship group there sitting down and having a long lunch. I'm assuming there was a big crowd there, and there would have been pressure on you guys to get the win yesterday against Corio.
Yeah, look, it's, I sort of take the pressure into a bit more excitement, to sort of play in front of the sponsors and sort of show them, what we're about as players, as a club. There's obviously some new sponsors and some existing sponsors that have been around for a while, but it's more so even for the new sponsors to really show them that, really take this seriously, and we want to go out there with everything we had.
And just on that as well, the venue itself and the atmosphere on a match day, how do those things compute compared to some of the other venues that you travel to during the season?
Look, we've got a good support base. We're a very family orientated club. That's something that I've loved. I've been at Sydenham for 4 years now, and there's a reason for that. There's a lot of good things happening in terms of the juniors and everything else, and it'll keep building. I've played at different levels and different stadiums in front of thousands of people as well. So look, it's hard to sort of compare the pair, but in terms of state league level, it's quite good.
Craig.
And you've got a very in-depth squad there, haven't you? You've talked about Ball there scoring goals. You've got Ball on 8. You've got Chris Davis still scoring goals in 10. You've got Jay Hart's finally finding some form, as you said. You've got Benjamin. You've got Ryan Newman. You've got a really good squad of talented football players there who've all had experience at higher level. So that, and with yourself, that must bode well as well for the football club coming into this last 6 weeks of the season when you really need to put the pressure on that top spot.
Yeah, I agree, Craig. Look, I think we've got enough experience in the squad that have played at high levels. And, the next 6 games essentially is going to be, thinking and playing as smart as we possibly can. This is towards the tail end where teams start dropping off, teams start to choke. It's the experience and the quality of plays that will get us through to the end.
Now, speaking of the next few games, next week's game against Brimbank Stallions, always a big rivalry there at the Club Italia Sporting Club, and that's at 3 p.m. on Saturday. They've had a real up and down sort of a season, but they are a very ambitious club, as is Sydenham Park, and they must probably be looking at the season that we're in and thinking it is an underachieving year, that they haven't done what they wanted to do. That last year they were really fighting for entry into NPL 3. What can we expect from Brimbank and this weekend's game?
Yeah, look, Brimbank have always been a tough side. No matter, since I've been playing, they've always been very competitive. This year, yes, they have been very up and down. But obviously, playing away is always difficult. Playing on their ground, playing to their advantage. But yeah, I can pretty much expect it's going to be a bit of a dogfight out there.
And Michael, a bit on yourself as well. How have you seen your season? And for those who don't know you, what's your role in the team on match day?
Yeah, look, I think so far I've had a good season. I think I've had a consistent season personally. Touch wood, I've been injury free. That's been my main focus, to get through the season without an injury, as anyone would. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I guess my role as a captain is to realistically motivate everyone to go out, to go out and win. That's the main purpose of it all. They're not going to be every day where everyone's going to be filling up for it. Some plays, might be a little bit down in some days and some not. And it's just my job to sort of keep everyone as consistent as possible, because we've got some really good players that we're playing with, and it's just a matter of keeping the mindset right.
Now, just one thing for me. You're the captain on the pitch in the change rooms. Goran Lozanovsky, obviously the coach. We know he's very vocal on the sidelines. A bit of a hard taskmaster. What's he like in the changing rooms behind the scenes now? Bearing in mind you are the captain, so you say
no.
What are you trying to do, Craig? Bait him to say something.
He's not listening. Probably it's fine.
Oh, he's probably watching. He's probably watching. So I'm gonna watch what I say. He's been good. It's the first year I've had or been under Goran, and it's been quite good. I've enjoyed sort of every game. One thing I can tell you, he gets his message across. That's probably to sum him up. He can get his message across. As you mentioned, he can be quite vocal behind scenes, but he's been a very motivated coach for myself. Before game day, his talks and everything before his analysis. We do a lot of analysis on Tuesdays, about our performance and go through, what we did right and what we did wrong. And it's just all about realistically getting the best out of the players, which I think he does.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, thanks for joining us. We're going to finish it off there. But before we do, we'll just have a quick look at the round 17 fixtures with 6 rounds to go. Whittlesea Rangers at home to Whittlesea United on Friday night. Yarraville taking on Keilor Park also Friday night. Then on Saturday, as we mentioned, Brimbank at home to Sydenham Park. Upfield hosting Corio. Westgate at home to Banyule City. And Altona City taking on Strathmore at its new temporary ground, McIver Reserve. So McIver Reserve will be getting a good workout, that's for sure. Michael, wishing you all the very best and everyone there at Sydenham Park. We've got obviously a very, very special connection with Sydenham Park, with Nick Trajewski, the president, our major sponsor this year here on the Football Out West show. So we're ever so grateful to both Nick and to Sydenham Park, and wishing you all the very, very best for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much, guys. Pleasure to be on the show. And we'll do our best to get this promotion up and running. So thank you very much.
Good luck, Michael. All the best.
Michael Sims there from Sydenham Park. Gents, that is it for the end of our show. But there's a big, big announcement that we need to make. And Craig, unfortunately, you'll be taking a little bit of a break for personal reasons. And we wish you all the very, very best. But, we look forward to having you back maybe next year for season 6. But in the meantime, you've got your hands full of a couple of things, haven't you?
I have, Tonson. Thanks very much. It's never nice to have to bow out halfway through something, but unfortunately things need to take a little bit of a sideward step for the next few weeks, and unfortunately I need to concentrate on those. And hopefully, as you said, we'll certainly be listening to the show, and I'll help where I can. But from a personal point of view, look forward to coming back in next year. All things.
Absolutely, Craig. We're wishing you all the very, very best. And Steve, we'll catch up next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
That's right, Tonchi. And can we just take one moment? I just want to keep the fans happy. And Johnny Lou in the comments, can I just do a little skit here, and we'll talk about State League 2 Northwest really quickly. Altona East Phoenix 0, Layla United 2, Albion Rovers 2, Westvale 3, Epping City 2, Hoppers Crossing 1, Geelong Rangers 1, Altona North 0, Western Suburbs 2, Clifton Hill 1, Hume United 0, Mill Park 2. Keeping the people happy on the Football Out West show is what we're all about, and looking forward to a big week in football for everyone. Thanks very much, Craig and Tonchi.
To be honest, we would love to be able to cover every division and every competition. Just not enough hours, and we'd be here for 3 hours, I think. And not too many people want to pay attention to us for 3 hours. But nonetheless, we really do appreciate you being with us. That is without a shadow of a doubt the truth. Thank you, folks, for being a part of episode 120 of the Football Hour Show. Do join us next week for our 121st episode, our 19th episode this year. We've been doing really, really well, and that is thanks exclusively to our major sponsor, NJT Carpentry, and Home Builders Corp, Nick Trajewski there from Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Folks, on that note, wishing you all the very best for the week ahead. Bye-bye, and we'll look forward to your company next weekend. Bye-bye.